A group thinks they're vacationing in paradise, but their trip turns into a nightmare as their lives are cut short in a single day. That's why today they're old. This is the story of Priska and Guikapa, who along with their 2 children, Madut and Trent, decide to take a trip to a paradise beach. Upon arrival at their hotel, the manager greets them and introduces the employee who will look after them. She gives them some welcome cocktails and they think it's a perfect place to stay. They found it randomly on the internet. While they enjoy their drinks, the kids go explore the place until they reach the candy area. There, the family's youngest befriends another boy, the manager's nephew. Afterward, they organize their belongings in their room before heading to the beach. There, the kids seem to become closer while they play. Trent enjoys asking people about their jobs, allowing him to meet everyone from police officers to dancers. The 2 kids become super close friends and spend their time talking about the things they're going to do when they grow up. Meanwhile, his older sister feels excluded by kids her age. Still, that doesn't really matter. What does matter is that same night, the parents start arguing in their room. That's when we learn this vacation was meant to be their last family trip before their divorce. They mention the mother is ill, but it doesn't seem serious. To distract himself, Trent tries to decode a message from his new friend. After that, we see how in a desolate part of the beach, there are 2 young people who seem to be having fun. The girl enters the sea unclothed as the boy watches. This detail isn't important for now. The next day, we briefly encounter another family having breakfast at the same hotel. The woman talks about needing calcium because she has bone problems, and she's accompanied by her little daughter, her husband Charles, and the grandmother with her dog. Meanwhile, the Kepa family has breakfast as the hotel manager suggests they visit a private, secluded beach. He says he liked them from the start. Although he seems kind, we see him treat his nephew badly when he leaves. At that moment, a woman has a seizure, but she is quickly treated by a doctor who is the husband of the second family. Later, as they head to their destination, both families meet and are driven by the hotel driver to a beautiful, apparently hidden beach. When they arrive, the young man from earlier scenes is there, but not the blonde girl. And apparently, this guy is a famous rapper in a mid-size sedan who Maddox knows. Anyway, the kids spend the day playing and having fun. And Kara, the girl from the other family, and the little Kappa kids discover that there are things from the hotel buried in the sand, although for now they don't think much of it. What matters is that while playing in the water, Trent finds the girl's body who was with the rapper. There, they start talking to the guy, who seems a bit strange, and he tells them that she went for a swim and he just stayed waiting. Finally, when asked about his nosebleed, he says he has nothing to say. While Guy talks to this guy and tries to find out what happened, Priska takes care of the kids. The issue is her little one says the swimsuit feels tight. She gets scared, thinking he might be swelling from bacteria, and goes to see Dr. Key, who was just with the grandmother. Apparently, seeing a corpse affected her so much that her chest started to hurt, although she downplays it. At that moment, 2 more arrive. Patricia, the woman who had seizures, and her husband, who learned there was a corpse. He wanted to leave, but something keeps stopping him no matter how hard he tries. And when he passes through the cave that separates this beach from the rest, he ends up fainting and waking up lying on the sand. The worst part is that the older lady's condition seems to be getting worse. Still, Priska is more worried that something might happen to her son, so she tries to convince Charles to go with him. But just as she's about to go with the kids, the grandmother dies. Meanwhile, the siblings were talking about how they look different and that Trent had seen something shiny in the mountains. Right now, he doesn't think much of it. During the incident with the lady, the new couple distracts them and the boy asks his usual question, "What do you do for a living?" And to keep the conversation going, the man tries to guess his age, but he makes a mistake by saying the boy is 11 years old since he is supposed to be only 6 years old. The point is, the little ones grew up so much that their parents can't even recognize them. On the other hand, Zayden tries to run away because he was being accused of having killed the girl they found. But as they're about to leave, they get a headache, faint, and find themselves back on the beach. After that, all the adults decide that the best way to escape would be for everyone to try different exits, although it doesn't help much, because they all end up the same way. There, the doctor seems to go crazy for a few seconds and cuts the rapper's face, but the wound heals in the blink of an eye. Seddon grows frustrated and says he was traveling because he was sick and needed some rest. And from that, they end up coming to the conclusion that it could be mass hysteria, and that they can't leave because outside of that paradise, their lives aren't the best. But this whole conversation ends because at that moment, the dog also dies. Patricia then suggests everyone share their reasons for being there, revealing the other couple was also struggling. But the worst part is that Priska starts to feel unwell. Her husband says it might be because she has a tumor, and she quickly faints. They decide to operate on her, but as soon as they make the incision, it instantly heals. So they hold the wound open by hand. And what was a 3-centimeter tumor ends up being the size of a melon. And as soon as they remove it, she feels better than ever. Meanwhile, the rapper visits the girl's corpse, but is surprised to find only bones remain. Although that process would take over 7 years, they realize time moves differently on that beach. Even the adults are starting to get wrinkles. They deduce 1 hour equals 1 or 2 years and can't leave because their bodies can't handle the change. Later, we meet Kara and Trent again, who are now teenagers. Not only do they look different physically, but they also mention their minds are changing and they have adult ideas. The point is that they end up getting more affectionate. And when are they going to join the others? Kara is pregnant, but she believes her belly grew only from eating and thought it was just a game. But after a few minutes, the baby is born, but the passage of time causes it to die within seconds. In another fit of madness, the doctor ends up killing Sedan and fleeing the scene. Now everyone fears he might hurt someone again, so they take his knife and leave him alone. So now Yaron, Patricia's husband, thinks a good option is to swim to the other shore. Also, his wife will soon need her epilepsy medication, even though she hasn't had any seizures so far. As time passes, Charles loses his sanity, hallucinating and speaking to nothing as if talking to his mother. But on the other hand, the others keep looking for ways to get out. They believe that climbing the surrounding rocks might help them avoid the headache effect. Even though Trent wants to do it, they dismiss the idea and don't let him. While talking, they learn someone in each family is sick and wonder if that's why they're there. Afterward, Maddox talks to her mom, now knowing they were separating, and asks if it was due to an affair. Her mother admits she cheated on Guy, but he doesn't know. She did it because she thought the tumor would kill her. After the talk, Maddox, feeling overwhelmed, goes into the sea, but the waves return the body of the man who went swimming. On the other hand, the newborn's parents decide to bury the baby. But Kara gets frustrated because she feels like her whole life passed by and she couldn't enjoy it. So she starts climbing the rocks that surround the beach, even though her partner insists that she stay with him. She keeps going, and when she's about to reach the top, she faints and ends up falling and dying. Meanwhile, Patricia wants to try swimming out again because she thinks her husband might be right. She just needed a float, but then an epileptic seizure kills her and the problems keep coming. Because Guy starts having vision problems and Priska loses hearing in one ear. At night, they discuss how Guy knows about the affair, but he doesn't take it badly because he just thinks she deserves the best man in the world, and they end up declaring that they still love each other. Among the things that were buried, the brothers discover a notebook from someone who had been there and who tried to find out what was happening. They recorded the names of those with him, and supposedly the area's magnetism speeds up aging. And from that, Trent comes to the conclusion that one way to counteract that magnetism would be to cover yourself with metal. But at that moment, he realizes that someone is recording them from the mountain. Later that night, Charles loses his mind and attacks the parents. The mother tells her children to hide and they run to a cave. There is the doctor's wife, whose body has been disfigured by the passage of time and her lack of calcium. That's why she doesn't want anyone to see her. Since they see her, she tries to kill them by throwing a stone, but it falls on her arm and breaks it. She keeps trying to kill them, but ends up hitting herself. Her weak bones break repeatedly until it kills her. And as for the parents, they kill the doctor, cutting him with a rusty knife that the children had found buried. After all this, the Kappa family reunites again, but the parents have already grown old and Guy loses his memory. He doesn't even know why he's there anymore. And downplaying the matter, now they prefer to spend time together even though the worst happens. And he dies alongside his wife. By the next day, only the siblings remain alive, but their time is running out. Now that they're adults, Maddox estimates they have just half a day left to live. They don't give up, wanting to keep trying to get out, but first they have fun playing and building a sandcastle. At that moment, the boy says his friend left him a coded message he never deciphered. He decides to decipher it for fun and may have found the key to getting out. My uncle doesn't like coral, so they think that if they head toward where the coral is and go around it, he might be able to get out of there. They dive into the sea and following the coral go through a tunnel. Everything was fine until Tren moved ahead and his sister got stuck, looking like she might die. We then learned that the truck driver who was on the mountain watching and recording them claims none survived. He kept watching for over a minute, but they didn't come out since it was all part of an experiment. We also learned they weren't the first and likely won't be the last either. Finally, we see the manager in his labs, where they research diseases to find cures. And the reason for these experiments is to test these medicines that could change the world. For example, the woman with epilepsy took these medications, and her seizures didn't occur during 16 hours on the beach. Their goal is to launch these remedies worldwide, but they must continue testing first. When the manager goes to welcome those who would become his new lab mice, someone hands the buried notebook, which holds all the information, to a former police officer. That's how he learns all those people are missing. When the new tenants arrive, the surviving Kappa brothers appear and warn them they'll be tricked and left to die. And now they show how they were able to get away by following the corals and finally managed to escape. But the important thing is that the hotel owners and everyone involved in these experiments were arrested. Was that old? Remember to like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you don't miss future videos.